Taf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph. We'll begin Nun Beis Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom with the 2 dots. Ein Mevorchen. Bishlam Ner Mishum D'Lo Shabbos. So the Mishnah said that we don't make a Bori Mereish, we don't make a Ner of an Akum, out of a Goy, we don't make a Bori Mereish on that type of Ner. So Bishlam, we understand why not Ner, because Lo Shabbos, because the Malacha was done. We make a Bori Mereish only on a Ner that was Shabbos, a Ner that a Malacha wasn't done. A Goy, so he presumably lit the Ner on Shabbos, and presumably therefore Malacha was done. Rashi adds on that the light, he did a Malacha with the light. The light was used for him to do his various tasks, including Malachas. So it would come out, according to Rashi, that even if he lit the Ner before Shabbos, but since it was used to perform Malachas on Shabbos, it would still be also to make a Bori Mereish on that Ner. That is a discussion in the Paiskim. There's different shitas regarding that. If it's specifically, if the Goy lit the Ner on Shabbos, or even if he used that Ner that was lit before Shabbos, if he used it on Shabbos for Malachas. So in any event, understand that the Ner of a Goy, that you cannot make a Bori Mereish, Mishum D'Lo Shabbos. Ela B'samim my time loy, but why can we not use the B'samim of an Akum? Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Hacha b'Mesibas Avdei Kachavim Askinen. It's talking with the Mesiba of Avdei Kachavim, of their Seuda, Mipnei, Shestam Mesibas Avdei Kachavim L'Avodah Zorah. Because when they make a Mesiba, Stam is L'Avodah Zorah, and therefore it's a B'samim that was used for Avodah Zorah. Frank the Gemara, what do you mean about Mektana Seifa? In Mevorchem Loyla Ner V'La B'Sam Shel Avodah Zorah. The Seifa says you're not Mevorchem the Ner of Avodah Zorah. Mechlal the Reisha Lav Avodah Zorah Skina. And doesn't that show you that it's the Reisha is not Avodah Zorah? Amar Chanina Misura Matam Kamar. He answers Matam Kamar. Matam in Mevorchem Loyla Ner V'La B'Sam Shel. What is the reason? Matam. What is the reason of the Reisha that says you can't make it on the Ner B'Sam Shel Akum Mipnei Shestam Mesibas Avdei Kachavim L'Avodah Zorah. Ton Rabbanan or Sheshavas Mevorchem. So this is the principle we just mentioned, that an or Sheshavas where Malacha was not done with it, then Mevorchem Shalei Shavas and Mevorchem Lo. But otherwise, you cannot make the Bori Mereish. My Shabbos and my Lo Shabbos. What is the meaning of that? If you mean to say that any malacha was done with that ner, you can't make a bracha. Meaning, and even if it's a malacha for heter, afilu malacha gehetera. How could you say that? If they lit the candle, the light, for the purposes of a woman who was in childbirth, or a choila, that they needed the light, so it's mutter for those purposes, it's mutter, it's pikuach nefesh. So there's no issue is done. And the Bryce says you could make the bracha on that. So that can't be what it means. So what it means is that only a light that was Shabbos from Malachas Avera, that no Avera was done with this or. It was not lit on Shabbos. Or like Rashi says, the light was not used for a Malachas Yisr. Only that type of light that was not used for Malachas Avera can you make the Bori Mereish. But if it was used for Malachas Avera, you cannot. If you had a lantern, they had light, so you lit it Erev Shabbos and it was burning the whole Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, Mevorchem Alav. Motzei Shabbos, you could make the bracha on it. You could make the bracha on Motzei Shabbos. So this is what is commonplace, that if you have a yortzeit candle, it was lit before Shabbos, it was burning the whole Shabbos, you can make a Bori Mereish. Ton Rabban Nochri Shehidlik Mi Yisrael Shehidlik Mi Nochri. So Yisrael had a candle burning. So his candle was lit before Shabbos. And Nochri comes along and lights it from after Shabbos. He lights it from the Yisrael. Or a goy had the candle that was burning on Shabbos, or he lit it on Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos, the Yisrael lights his candle from the goys. In both those cases, you can make the bracha. But But a Nachri, lighting it from another Nachri, you cannot make the bracha on that. So the Gemara, well, one Nachri lights it from another one, you can't make the bracha. Now, even though the second one is being lit Motzei Shabbos, after Shabbos, you still cannot make the bracha. So what's the reason for that? So, because you say the original source of light was the guys who lit it on Shabbos, it was Loi Shabbos. So then the Yid, if he lights it from a Nachri, still it's the same thing, isn't it? The original source of the light was Loi Shabbos, it was lit on Shabbos, so what's the difference? Well, maybe you'll say no. The original source of light is gone. That was lit at the moment, and that source of light is gone, and now we only consider the second one. Maybe you'll say that's the pshat, and therefore the Yisrael Meinachri, we disregard the original source of the light, and we only look at now the second source of the light. Now, obviously, as Tosfos points out, this will not resolve the issue, because then why is a Nachri Meinachri, why is it awesome? So this is really, we could ask, Minei Ubei, then what's the difference? So why Yisrael Minachri is mutter and a Nachri Minachri is also should also be mutter? But the Gemara now goes and proves conclusively, as we'll see later, we could be doicha that raya, but the Gemara proves conclusively from the following braysos. Tosfos says that no, we do not consider the original source of light as being non-existent. So maybe you'll say the original source is gone and now this is considered a new fire. And when the Yisrael lights it from the Nachri, it's created in the hands of the Yisrael, and we disregard the previous light. No, you can't say that. If a person brings out a flame on Shabbos, from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. So he's carrying the flame. So that's Hoitzah, that's carrying. He's chayiv. He's chayiv for that. Now, if that's the case, why should it be chayiv? Chayiv, why should it be chayiv? Masha akar lo hiniach. If you disregard the original light, now, Hoitzah can only be on the same item that you had in Akira. You uprooted it from its original sword, where it was originally resting, where it was originally nach, and you brought it out into the other domain, into the other shus, and put it down there. Now, if you're going to disregard the original light, the original flame, then you only had a half of the malach of Hoitzah. What was picked up is not the same thing that was put down. What was put down is not the same what was picked up. Hoitzah means that you're carrying an item, you pick it up, you do an akira from Rishus HaYachid, and you take it out to the Rishus HaRabim, to the public domain, and you put it down there. It has to be the same article. It has to be the same chayfetz, otherwise it's only a half of a hoitzah. There's an akira without an anacha without an akira. Now here it says he's chayiv. So apparently we cannot disregard the original flame. We don't say the original flame is non-existent. So you must say that the original Isser still is here. Now, when the Yid lights it from the Goy, it's not that the original flame of the Goy is non-existent, but the bracha that he's making is on the addition that the Yid made, and he lit that Motzei Shabbos. That's why Yisrael Minachri, you can make the bracha. Well, if that's the case, Nachri Minachri Nami, then Nachri Minachri Nami, say the same thing. The original source of light, the goys that lit it on Shabbos, he's not making the bracha on that. He's making the bracha on the Tosfos, the addition, which the second Nachri lit after Shabbos. So why should it be also? Why can't he make a bracha on it? Or in Hachanami? Yeah, really, Mikra din you could, because that's how we view it. However, we say in Nachri you can't, because Gzera Mishum Nachri Rishon Va'amar Rishon. Because we're guys, if we allow you to make the bracha on Nachri, you might come to make the bracha even on the first Nachri. You might think that a Nachri's light is mutter and come to make a bracha on ner that wasn't Shabbos. So therefore, it's a gzera, but really, make it din, it should be mutter. If a person was going outside the city of Ra and he saw the light, he saw fire. If most of the people in the city are nachrim, you don't get a bracha. We have to assume that this fire came from a nachri, and which you cannot make a bracha on that light. But if most of the people are Yisrael, then you could make a bracha. It seems to be a contradiction. If the majority are nachrim, don't make a bracha. Which implies that it would be 50-50, that you couldn't make the bracha. Then it says in the Sefer, if the majority is Yisrael, you make a bracha. Which implies that 50-50, you don't make a bracha. So what is it in if it's 50% Yisrael, 50% Nachrim? Do you make the bracha or do you not? More answers. Really, if it's 50-50, you should be able to make the bracha. But really, even if it's not Rav Yisrael, even if it's Mechsa Yisrael, 50-50, you still make the bracha. So the Reisha is the one that we're saying is Meduik, is Davka. If it's Rav Nachrim, majority of Nachrim, you don't make the bracha. But if it's Mechsa Yisrael, Mechsa Nachrim, 50-50, 50%, 50%, then you do make the bracha. So the question arises, why should you make a bracha if it's 50% Yisrael and Nachrim? It's a suffix. It's not a majority, so it's a suffix. You don't know if it is or isn't. So why should you be able to make the bracha on that case, whether it's 50%? The Ritva answer is because even on the 50% of Nachrim, perhaps there is light that will show us. So therefore, we can assume the majority of the light, the fire that was burning over there, would come from a source of Ur Sheshavas. Either it's Yisrael, which was not, the Malacha was not done on Shabbos, or even a Nachri. Some of the Nachrim didn't do it on Shabbos. They would have done it either before Shabbos or after Shabbos. So therefore, we are saying it's mutter. If he went outside the city, he saw a child with a torch in his hand. He examines the case. If he's a Yid, then you can make the bracha. But if he's a Nachri, you do not make the bracha. So, what is a child? Anybody who is holding the torch, a light, you check. Is it a goy? Is it Yisrael? If it's Yisrael, you make the bracha. We're talking over here where it's right after Shabbos. It's immediately after Shabbos. If it's a Godel, you assume that it's a Nochri, because a Yid would not light the fire immediately after Shabbos. He would wait. He wouldn't light it right after. He wouldn't light it Samach L'Shkiyazacham. Tinag, but a child is not so careful. Therefore, it's not davka. We wouldn't necessarily say that he's davka nachri. There, Amy Yisrael, we krivinoket, and he happened to light it early. He happened not to wait. So there, you examine it. But if it's a gadol, don't even bother examining it. We would assume that it's a nachri. If he's going outside the city and he sees a fire, if it's a thick fire, strong fire, like was the type of fire that's burning from a furnace, then you can make the bracha. Otherwise, you can't. Now, what's underlying this halacha is that the Bor Meresh, this is a new dimension now, a new aspect of the halacha is that you only make the bracha on fire that was lit for purposes of light. If it was for purposes of cooking, if it was purposes of refining, these types of things, you don't make a bracha on that type of fire. It's only a fire that was made for the purposes of light. So therefore, if you see a thick or strong fire, like the type that comes out of a kivshin, you can assume that it's from a kivshin, from a furnace, and it's mutter. Otherwise, perhaps it's from an oven, which was used for cooking, and you cannot make the bracha. So the more we'll refine this. Tanechada, or shel kivshin v'vorach melav. We learned in one brayso that you do make the bracha on the light of the furnace, v'tanyidach and v'vorach that you don't. Like kasha from the Gemara, it's not a kasha, but chila is safe. Now the furnace itself. So the furnace is normally not used for light. So why can you make the bracha on the furnace? So the Gemara says, if it's betchila at the beginning of when they would light the fire up the furnace, there it's not used for light. There it's used, they used to, in those days, they used to take stones and they used to burn the stones to make lime. So that's not used for light. You cannot make the bracha on that. But b'saif at the end, then after they already done their refining and created their lime, they keep the fire going for light. That type of fire you could make the bracha. So we learned one brisa that the light of an oven or a small oven, you could make the bracha. We learn another brisa, you cannot. More like kasha. But same idea. But they use it for baking or for cooking. At the end, they keep it going for the fire, for the light, and that you can use for the bracha. The light that was used in a shul or beis medrash, you could make the bracha. But another brisa says you can't. If it was lit, if there's an Adam Chashiv, it would be lit for the honor of this prominent person. So it's not made for light, it's made for kavod. There you cannot make the bracha. But if it's no Adam Chashiv, it's made for light, use the light that they use for Neres in the shul, for purposes of reading, of learning and davening, that you could make the bracha. Alternatively, even there is an al chashiv in both cases. If there is a shamas in the shul, even if they lit the light for the purpose of the adam chashiv, but if it's also being used for the purpose of the shamas, then it's being used for light. If it has a dual purpose, you can still make the bracha as long as it's also being used for light. The boy same alternatively, in both cases, you can say where there is a shamas. But like kasha, it's not a kasha, hadika sira, hadaleka sira. If there's enough light from the moon, so therefore the candle is not being lit for the shamas. He has enough light anyway. So therefore it's only being lit for the Adam Choshuv, it's only being lit for kavod. You cannot make a bracha on that candle. But if the ur was lit for kavod, and there's not enough light for the moon for the shamas, then the light from the ur, from the candle, is being lit not exclusively for the Adam Choshuv, it's being also lit for the chazan, for the shamas, and therefore you could make a bracha on that ur, on that candle, because it's being used for light as well. So Rabbanan Yeshem Beis HaMedrash, they were sitting in the Beis HaMedrash of Heavy or Lifneim, and it was Motzei Shabbos. He brought the light for them to make the Bar Mereish. He says each one makes his own Bar Mereish. They don't do it collectively. So each one, he has the candle, he makes his own bracha. They say no. One makes a bracha for all of them. The glory for the king is when there's the multitude of his nation, they're coming together. Here also, it's bigger kavod shemayim when they make the bracha all together. So Bishlam Beis Hillel Mefarshit time. So Beis Hillel explains the reason why, because it says Breva. Beis Shammai, my time. Why does Beis Shammai say each one make it separately? Why should they say that? Because the time that it takes to collect everybody together, it'll be bittul Torah. So they say rather forego Bravam Hadras Melech, so there should not be this bittul Torah. Over there was so makbid not to waste any time. There shouldn't be any bittul Torah that they didn't even say labria gesundheit. They didn't even say marpe when a person sneezed. Bittul Beis HaMedrash. So the Mishnah continues and says, Ein mevarach meloyel and nerav b'sam shel mesim. The light and the besamim that's used for the mess, you don't make a bracha on either of them. So my time, why is that so? Because ner lekavod David. Because the ner is not made for light. Like we said before, you only make a bracha on the ner that's made for light, and this is made for the kavod of the mace. And besamim lavur recho David. And besamim is not made for it to smell the fragrance. It's made just to remove, to nullify the odor that comes from the mace. So it's really not used to smell the besamim. It's just used to camouflage the odor from the mace. If they bring out a nair for the mass, and if they would bring that nair, whether it's day or night, so that shows you that it's not used for light, because they would do it on the daytime as well. They're only doing it for covet, in mevarchim alav. You don't make a brach on that because it's not used for light. But the whole shein might seem lefon ela b'layla. But if it's only a nair that's brought out at nighttime, so that shows you it's not for covet, it's being used for light. Mevarchim alav. Then you do make the bracha. Amar Avuna besamim shall beis hakisei. The besamim that's used in the beis hakisei v'shem and otzulav azuma. So both of these things are not used for the positive purposes. They're not used for the purposes of fragrance. They're used to camouflage or to remove the grease from the hands. Ein mevarchim alav. You don't make a bracha on these types of, this psalmim or this oil. So you mean to say when it's not made for the fragrance, you don't make the bracha. Mesa, I'll ask you a kasha. If you go into a perfume shop, and you smell the fragrance from the perfume in the psalmim, in the shop, even if he sat there the whole day, you only make one bracha because there's no hesach hadas, there's no interruption, there's no hefsek. He smelled, he made the bracha, and it's as if a person would be sipping and eating something the entire day without interruption. One bracha would suffice. But nechnas v'yotzev, he goes in and out. Then mevarach will call pam. Every time he re-enters the store, he is considered now starting fresh, starting anew, and he has to make a new bracha. Now, they don't have the perfume there. It's not for the purpose of giving fragrance. It's not for the purpose that people should smell the fragrance. It's being sold in the store. And mamela, automatically, inevitably, there's a fragrance. But it's not being put out for a fragrance, for people to smell. It's not made for reach. It's made to be sold. It just happens to be, it's inevitable that there's going to be the fragrance from the psalmim, if the psalmim are there. And you see that you do make the bracha, so it seems to be that even where the summer is not for the fragrance, you still make the bracha. The Gemara says, no, in l'reicha nami hu davida, it is made for the reicha. The shopkeeper, he wants the people to smell the fragrance. He wants people to smell the fragrance of it and be enticed to buy it. So it's made for a positive purpose. That's his marketing, that's his advertising in order to get people to buy it. So therefore it is made for fragrance, and that's why you make the bracha. He went outside the city and he smelled the fragrance. If a majority of Yecham, he does not make a bracha on that fragrance. If there's a Rav Yisrael, he does. Rav Yossi Amar Afilu Rav Yisrael Nami Ein Mevorach. Even if there's a Rav Yisrael, he does not make the bracha. Because there are Bnei Yisrael that use this and burn it for their kshafim, for their witchcraft, for their sorcery, which is also, and you can't make a bracha on reach shel isur. Affecting atakula l'kshafim mekatrin. Do they all use it for that purpose? So why should you say that? They don't all use it for that purpose? But the Gemara says, "Havalei miyut l'kshafim." It's a miyut. It's true. It's only a miyut, a minority that use kshafim. Umiyut nam legamar esakelim, and a miyut also use it for legamar esakelim, to perfume the kelim, to give a good aroma, a good odor for their kelim. So they use it for that purpose, which is also not for the reach itself. And therefore, ishtakach, it comes out, rubadalav l'reicha avid. It comes out that the majority is not made for the fragrance, and therefore you can't make the bracha, because you have a roiv that is not for fragrance. Meaning, as Rashash explains, you have a miyut kshaf, you have another miyut of legamra sekelim, to give a fragrance for the kelim. Now that's not a roiv, but you also have the chachavin. So taking that all into account, you have a roiv de la b'reich avida, and if it's la b'reich, you don't make the bracha. Amar Rav Chia bar Ava Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mahalach bar Shabbos b'Tveria. One goes Erev Shabbos in Tveria, Motzei Shabbos b'Tzipori, and Motzei Shabbos b'Tzipori, v'hiriach reich, and he smelled the fragrance. Ein mevorach. He does not at those times. He does not make a bracha on the fragrance. Mnei shechaz kolsa and also legamra sekela, because those are the times that they use it legamra kalim. It's very common and frequent. We can assume it was used legamra kalim and not used for the fragrance, and therefore you cannot make a bracha on at those times because it's not made for the fragrance. Tan Rabbanan Mahalach b'shuk shel akum. He was going to the marketplace for a goy, nisratzel hariach, and he wanted to smell it. Now it's an akam meshuk shel akam. You know what's used for avodah zora. Harezeh chayta is considered to be a chayta if he does it for that purpose.